We will be dividing up this course between the hand and the wrist, and we will start with the hand now. We will begin the hand section with a brief review of hand anatomy as seen on X-ray. The fingers, or digits, are labeled by names and by numbers. By names, they are the thumb, the index finger, the middle or long finger, the ring finger, and the small finger. You may also see them referred to by number, so D standing for digit, D1 through 5, and you start with the thumb and you number them radial to ulnar, so you have D1, D2, D3, D4, and D5. The bones of the fingers include phalanges or phalanx, singular. In digits 2 through 5, so all the fingers excluding the thumb, there are 3 phalanges comprising each finger. You have the proximal phalanx, also called P1, as seen here. You have the middle phalanx, also called P2, and the distal phalanx, P3. The thumb only has 2 phalanges. You have the proximal, P1, and the distal, P2. The metacarpals are the bones that make up the main part of the hand, and they articulate with the phalanges and are also labeled 1 through 5, so M1 through M5 for short. So here you can see M1, M2, M3, M4, and M5. The joints between the phalanges are called the interphalangeal joints. Between P1 and P2, you have the proximal interphalangeal joint, or PIP joint for short, and then between P2 and P3, you have the distal interphalangeal joint, or DIP for short. Where the metacarpals articulate with the proximal phalanges, you have the metacarpal phalangeal joints, or MCP joints. These are also colloquially known as the knuckles. There are also commonly sesamoid bones in the hand that are not to be confused with fractures or foreign bodies. Sesamoid bones, named for their appearance similar to sesame seeds, and you can see an example of one here, are very small bones embedded in a muscle or tendon near a joint surface. There are often 1 to 2 around the thumb joints, the D2 MCP joint, and the D5 MCP joint. Zooming in on the bone anatomy itself, the metacarpals and phalanx bones all can be divided into subsegments that are helpful when identifying the location of a fracture. So they're divided into a base. You can see the base of the metacarpals here, or for example in the proximal phalanx here, and that's the most proximal end. Then you have the shaft, which is the long central area. Then you'll have a head at the distal end of the bone, and then a neck connects the shaft to the head. It is like that for the metacarpals, the proximal and middle phalanx bones. However, the distal phalanx is a little bit different. It still has a base and a shaft. However, the distal end is called a tuft instead. Now let's move on to identifying fracture types.